Well, hello again, it's Kathy and Rosie Vesperina and Ruby Renfield. Today we are riding from Terrigal up through the Ridgeway in the reverse direction. There's no reverse direction really, you either come from one end or the other depending on where you need to go, but I've only ever ridden the Ridgeway from that Narara area down to Tumby-Umby. So this time we're going to head back up the Ridgeway via Terrigal, Tumby-Umby to Narara, Wyoming direction. So it will be nice to try those sweeping bends and things from a different direction. The only issue that we had was that I did not have my GPS, my Garmin Zumo XT2 thingy, attached to Rosie, and so I looked at the maps before we left Terrigal to see where I had to turn off, but I've said before I am geographically challenged, and so this was a bit of work for my brain. We've headed up through Womberl now, up to the roundabout. We go left and you go back to Erina. This way you head out to Batto Bay and onto the entrance and Long Jetty and what have you. But when we get down to the big intersection here, we will turn left up through Tumby-Umby. So after the excitement of showing you all Ruby Renfield last week, I can say that I've had some safe rides on it and I am getting used to it now, slowly. So sorry, turning left up towards Tumby-Umby. I've done a lot of practice in a private car park, practicing the slow riding, practicing the quick stops, the swerving really quickly. I think I've done nearly 20 hours of lessons on a manual bike, which ironically, when you go for your L's to get your license, you only do 7 hours of lessons, 2 half days over 2 separate days. And so I've actually done nearly 3 times more than what you do in a learner's course in either private or group lessons at Heart or at Wheel Skills up in Newcastle. So I do feel like I have all the skills, but it's just getting used to a different sort of bike and remembering the gears and when to change up gears and when to change down gears. The other thing I've noticed about Ruby is I'm still trying to get used to the sound that the engine makes when I'm riding, because obviously it's so much louder than Rosie, so that's a little bit to get used to as well. I've also gone a little bit crazy and ordered some accessories, so next week I'll just share the first couple if I have them, and I'll keep sharing the other accessories that go on Rosie, and eventually I will film a ride. We're turning left now onto the Ridgeway. I've said before that I was always scared of riding the Ridgeway, but now I feel like it's one of my favourite roads to ride along. There's only one really sharp kind of 15 km/h bends, I think, but the rest are just lovely, and there's hardly any cars on the road today for this ride. A few coming in the other direction, but it's terrific. Going back to Ruby, gosh, I'm going to get myself confused between Ruby and Rosie. I have had quite a few little safe jaunts on her to practice those skills. I also had to put petrol in her and what is really silly is I didn't even think about how you put petrol in her, and I was able to get the fuel tank lid open, but I couldn't work out how to get it closed. So that was just a little bit embarrassing and took me so much time in the petrol station. Speaking of petrol, I put half a tank of petrol in my car yesterday, and I drive a Subaru XV, and it cost me the same amount as it would cost to fill a full tank to fill the half a tank. So fuel prices are just a little bit crazy at the moment. To fill half a tank of Ruby Renfield was $12. So I guess that means to fill it fully will be $24. And that was with 91. Usually I put 95 in Rosie and in my car, but I couldn't, the shop didn't have 95, so I just went with 91. It's nice watching the sweeping views as you ride past this Ridgeway area. The condition of the road going in this direction is actually a little bit better than going in the other direction, which was nice. The other thing I realised about Ruby Renfield was she still has 12 months of new bike warranty and roadside service, but I actually didn't get any information on that when I purchased her, so I'm not quite sure what to do about that. I have NRMA roadside assistance for my car and for Rosie, and so I think maybe I should just add Ruby to that. Although a friend had told me that she pays a really reasonable price for roadside assistance for one car and 3 bikes through another company. So, well, there's a couple of bikes. I might just check that out. The other thing I noticed about Ruby Renfield is that people give me the nod more, other riders give me the nod more on Ruby Renfield than they do on Rosie. So clearly I'm more worthy on a geared bike than I am on a scooter, which I think is a bit funny. Somebody asked me yesterday which I prefer riding and if I was enjoying doing my safe little jaunts with Ruby, and I said I do enjoy it. I prefer riding a manual bike than a scooter, but then when I was driving a manual bike, I preferred driving a manual car than an automatic car. I always felt when I drove a manual car, I'm just going to stop the story. I was supposed to turn left here, but I made a mistake and I've turned right and taken us on an even more windy bit down to Lizero. I meant to go left to go past Bamboo Buddha and back up through Erina, but I made an oops. Back to my story. I always preferred driving a manual car because I always thought I had a little bit more control with the gears and engine braking and what have you. So I do prefer gears. So I think once I get used to Ruby Renfield, at the moment I enjoy it, but I am spending more time concentrating and talking myself through what I should be doing because I'm not used to it. And once those muscle memories kick in and I know how to change gears by rote and I know which gear I should be in, then I think I'll enjoy it more. The other thing I noticed when I was talking to other rider friends about at what speed are you doing to change gears, I realise every bike is different, and someone rightly said, read your user manual and see what it says, because sometimes I think I'm in the wrong gear for the speed, or if there's a little hill, I'm in the wrong gear. But when I read the manual last night, it was kind of clear that I was probably right. It's just the sound that the engine makes is different to what I'm used to with Rosie, who is quite quiet and kind of lawnmowery sounding, whereas Ruby is kind of a pop sound and loud-ish, even though nowhere near as loud as other bikes. But anyway, it's all a steep learning curve, and I am enjoying her. So this is coming towards the end of the Ridgeway, my reverse Ridgeway, even though it's not. So many lovely roads on the Central Coast. Hello, motorbike. So many lovely roads on the Central Coast. I'm so lucky, I say it all the time, I'm so lucky to live here, to have the ocean, to have these sorts of roads, to have the bush. Plenty of cars going in the opposite direction in this part of the Ridgeway. With me on this ride, I think, is Fiona, Fee, and might be Michelle, I think. So we're at that now big intersection at Narara, I think it is. And we've been along this road plenty of times. Takes us up through Wyoming, where the Coles shopping centre and Woolworths. It's interesting, Coles and Woolworths are right next to each other in this little shopping centre to our left. I've been thinking about whether I should get a helmet mount for my helmet. I see other YouTubers who record their rides use the helmet mount rather than the neck mount that I use. My only issue with it is I think I tend to move my head a lot when I ride. I'm always looking here, there and everywhere, and I think it would make people seasick, whereas having it on my neck, around my neck, keeps it fairly central. But I wonder whether I could get a better view with the camera higher up. But I think that I can adjust the neck mount so that it sits higher on my neck, like a higher necklace kind of thing. I might try that next time. So coming up to the next roundabout where we go left to, I think I said Wyoming in the last one, but last section, but no, this is heading into Wyoming and Wyoming shops. The previous one would have been Narara shops. 60 along here. And here we are back home again. That was a short little ride. I really love the Ridgeway, so I think I might try that when I can with Ruby Renfield. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.